Hi everyone, this is Pierrick from P2 Design. In this new tutorial I will show you how to create advanced muscle deformation using shape keys driven by constraint bone. The goal of this tutorial is to create this kind of deformation. Okay, that's pretty simple, you may say. You may also say that you already experienced this on other tutorials on the web, but all of them only cover how to create this using the deformation bones. Here it's an IK mechanism and it's working smoothly. First of all, this is a pretty advanced tutorial, so if you don't feel comfortable with rigging, I truly advise you to take some course here on the web. What we will cover is how to create the FK and IK mechanism, how to create corrective or deformation shape keys, and how to create the trigger between all of these features. We won't be covering the creation of a full ring for the creature, okay? We will only be working on one arm, and we won't be working on skinning the character or white painting as you want. The character that will be used to illustrate this tutorial is now available on the Blender market, so if you like my demo reel and you want to play with it, I truly encourage you to have a look at this product. But it's not necessary for the sake of this tutorial to have it, okay? The goal here is to show you the tip about muscle deformations and allow you to use it on your own characters. For this tutorial I'm using the bone layer management, which is available on the trunk of Blender 2.72. okay, so just activate it in the user preference. Okay, so here we have our deformation bone for the arm. Okay, so it's already skinned. Okay, but there is absolutely no shape keys on our model. Okay, so I will show you how to create the first shape key. Okay, that's pretty simple. To activate this muscle, there are different ways to prepare a shape key. As we will be working on a shape key that is activated when the arm is bent, okay, we will first bend the arm, changing the pose here, okay, like this, and a little like this, constraining it on the y-axis. Okay, so now I have a correct position of my arm here to simulate the contraction of this muscle. Okay, I will disable the X-ray for the time being so that it will be easier for us to see how the muscle reacts. Okay, let's now generate a shape key. So I create a new shape key basis, and that is the group of the shape keys, and create our biceps.l shape key. So how shape keys work is pretty simple. You have to select the shape key you want to edit, okay, and then jump into edit mode to create the deformation. The problem here is that when I jump into edit mode, my character gets to his pose status. So what you can do is go into the modifiers, and in the armature modifier activate this and this. It will allow you to go into edit mode and also apply the deformation from the armature at the same time. The second step is to edit our shape key. Okay, so as you may know, the volume of a muscle never really changes. Okay, the only modification of its volume is due to the blood flow inside it, but in general terms it doesn't get bigger than it is at its original position. So what we will do, okay, I will be using the addition fall off using Alt O for connected vertices. And the movement of the bone will be this part will get here, while this volume will get bigger, and we will have this kind of shape here, and here it will be flattened. Okay, so let's start. So having a pretty good topology is pretty important for this kind of effect. Okay, like this. And as I told you, those words are going to move slightly like this, and also those one. Okay, so I'm not doing it perfectly, as I don't want you to fall asleep watching me moving vertices. And also what you can add is just moving those verts a little like this to create a sharper loop here, so that the contraction will be more obvious. Okay, like this. What you can also do if you want to review your shape key in edit mode is just activate this. Okay, and now the cursor is available while I'm still in edit mode, so I can see the deformation directly in edit mode, and in its max value I can tweak my vertices position like this. Okay, this part should get bigger. Okay, so it's not perfect, but let's say this one is done. Okay, so I exit edit mode, and now I will show you how to activate this while moving the arm. What I will show you now is how to create this effect with the wrong method, a method that is already available on the web, but that is unusable with IK and FK constraint. So it's pretty simple. What we want is the shape key to be driven by the z-axis rotation of this bone. Okay, so let's split our screen in two, get rid of this and this, open the graph editor. I select the mesh and add a driver to the shape key. Okay, now here in the graph editor, the shape key is available here. If you can't see it, you might double check the mode. You have to choose driver. I select it. I want it to be driven by the transform channel of our creator rig. We will be using this bone, so I will select its name, copy it, reselect my mesh to get back to the shape key, copy it here. We want to use the Z rotation of this bone. As we can see, the axis here, it's the Z rotation, and we will be using its local space. As it is parented to this bone, whenever it rotates on its Z-axis, there will be a difference between those bones, so there will be a value. Okay, so let's check. The value here is negative. So now we need to add some modifier to get the right mathematical formula to get to 1 here. Here our rotated bone gives us a value of minus 1.309. Okay, what we want is to get from 0 to 1. So we will add a modifier, a generator. Okay, the first one we want to check is the multiplication. Okay, we have a negative value, let's multiply it by a negative value, and we will have a positive value. Then we will choose for the type average value, okay, and update dependencies. And now you can see that my arm here, my biceps is contracted, okay. So if I do it like this, you can see the contraction. The problem here is that it's a bit too fast, okay, so I will just decrease this value like minus 0.8, and now it's running more smoothly, okay. So now we have our deformation. Okay, it's not perfect, but I'm just here trying to show you how it works. Okay. So now we will create the IK and FK mechanism, and we will see how it works then. The simplest way to create an FK and IK mechanism was shown by Ken Trammell on his Piero course on Blender Cookie, on CG Cookie. Okay, so let's get rid of this pose, Alt R, Alt G, Alt S. Okay, now jump into edit mode. Let's duplicate those bones, Shift D, move them on the Z axis with a value of 0.5. Do it again, Shift D, G on the Z axis, 0.5. Okay, now let's name them correctly with the F key here and IK here, like this. It's the fk.l, also fk.l, here it's the ik.l, and also ik. First, let's create the IK. So we need an IK bone here. So I've just extruded this bone. We need to unconnect it. Alt P, disconnect the bone. Okay. Name it IK arm.l. Okay. And we also need to create a pole target to be able to change the direction of this part. Okay, so I extrude also on the y-axis. Alt P, disconnect it, move it here. Okay, Alt P, clear parent, just clear the parent here also, and name it pole arm.l. Okay. Now let's jump into pose mode. Okay, Control Tab, and give this an IK constraint. So you can select the IK bone and the bone that will be constrained. Control Shift C, invert kinematics, limit the chain to 2 bones, those two. Okay, so now when I move this one, the arm reacts correctly. And we will add this as a pole target. So I go into the constraint, pole target. It's still on the creator rig, and it's this bone. And now I have to change the pole angle so that it gets back to its correct position. So I believe it will be like minus 180 degrees. So I have pretty the same position as this bone. Okay. Now let's create the constraint to those bones so that they will follow the movement of this one or of this one. Okay. So select it, select the second, Control Shift C, copy the rotation in the local space, repeat this, copy rotation in local space and local space. And what we want, we also want to be able to do the same thing with those bones. So just select them, select the second, Control Shift C, copy the rotation in local space, do the same here, copy the rotation in local space and local space. Okay, now as you can see, there is already a driver because this character is already with a full rig, so I will just get rid of them to show you how to create them. Okay, here we are. So now if I move this, the arm is following because it's copying the rotation of these bones. And now if I rotate this, it doesn't move. So I just have to remove the influence of the IK to have the same movement of those one. Okay, so now let's organize a bit all of those. Let's create an MCH arm bones and move the bones that we won't be using for animation, like those one. Okay, and let's create a control arm bones layer where we will move those ones. Okay, now in edit mode we will move those bones back to their position. So I select those. You remember I've moved them in the Z axis with a value of 0.5. Now let's move them in reverse, GZ minus 0.5. Select all the bone here, GZ minus 0.5. GZ minus 0.5 a second time as I've moved it twice. Okay, now let's get back to pose mode. And now I have, if I select my deformation bones, enable the influence of the IK, it will be overwriting this one, okay, as it's in second position in the stack. Get back here, take the control bones. Now I have a rig of my arm. Now we have a big surprise, is that the shape key is still functioning. Okay, and when I do this creature, I've done this on Blender 271. Okay, and if you check the value of this bone, the constraint one, its Z rotation is still 0. So the shape key is supposed to be at 0 also, but here it has our correct value. So this messed a little up my my tutorial, but I will show you rapidly how I fixed this in the former version. So in the former version of Blender, this wasn't working because Blender used this value to drive the shape key, and it's still at 0 because this bone is constrained. Okay, but it has been fixed, so I will show you how I fixed the problem in the former version. That could be useful, I hope. So in the graph editor, instead of using the transform channel and the D rotation, I've been used the rotational difference. Okay, using the forearm.L bones and the upper arm. Okay, and then finding the polynomial formula that was useful. So let's make some tests. Okay, let's bend it so that there is no angle here. Let's check. I will open a second window that will be more handy. And graph editor. Okay. So now the value is 0.3, and here it's 2. So I believe a factor of 0.5 will be nice. Okay, it's working. So this is a bit strange, but that's a big enhancement for the version 2.72 of Blender, because I've used very complex rig option. I will showcase them to you right now so that you can understand what I was facing. Maybe this this rotational difference will help you on other problem, I hope. Let me show you where I have used it before. Okay, so as I told you, I'm not sure it's useful still with this new version of Blender, but for this arm, okay, here I'm using a shape key to keep this curve, because if you move the leg to the back and don't use a shape key, okay, this will react weirdly and go into the leg. Okay, here we keep this nice curvature. And how I've done this was using another bones. Okay, that was copying the rotation of the deformed bone here, the constrained one. Okay, but with limitation. Okay, so that when I go up, it follows the rotation of the deformed bone, but when I go back and I want to activate the shape key, we have a difference. Okay, so then I just created the same thing as you have seen before, a shape key driven by the difference of angle of those two bones here to create this deformation. So that was a pretty useless tutorial, but maybe you have learned something today, so I hope you liked it.